Welcome back. First of all, I want to put two quotes I forgot in my last video at the beginning of this video because I remembered them when it was online already and I regretted that. So one is from Emma. It's the last paragraph about her wedding, and they are talking about satin, and Emma was one of Jane Austen's latest works, so satin was the new thing because it's around the end of the Regency era. The wedding was very much like other weddings, where the parties have no taste for finery or parade, and Mrs. Elton, from the particulars detailed by her husband, thought it all extremely shabby and very inferior to her own. Very little white satin, very few lace veils, a most pitiful business. Selina would stare when she heard of it. The second quote is from Pride and Prejudice, when the Bennet family is informed about Lydia's wedding, and this is the reaction Mrs. Bennet has. She was then proceeding to all the particulars of calico, C-A-L-I-C-O, muslin and cambric, and would shortly have dictated some very plentiful orders, had not Jane, though with some difficulty, persuaded her to wait till her father was at leisure to be consulted. So that's cambric is pretty much the same as batiste from what I've learned. Enough with the fabrics, because I've been told that's very boring. I'm going to talk about the pattern for my dress today, and of course I have another quote from Sense and Sensibility. Don't worry, it's quite short. And such of that time as could be spared from the importunate demands which this politeness made on it, was spent in admiration of whatever her ladyship was doing, if she happened to be doing anything, or in taking patterns of some elegant new dress, in which her appearance the day before had thrown them into unceasing delight. So that's what people would do in their spare time. Copying other people's dresses. So I've mentioned before that I want to use the Lizzie Bennet Pride and Prejudice 1995 BBC ball gown as a guideline for my dress, because I think it's very simple and it embodies this whole idea of Regency fashion really well. So yeah, but I'm not allowed to use footage from the movie, I think. I'm a little confused about this copyright thing on YouTube. So I hope that's okay, because I need to explain the pattern somehow if I say I'm going to use it. So I've made a drawing from the movie dress, and I think that's okay if I explain my plans on that. So we have the typical puffed sleeves and the high waistline. Yeah. And here this whole front piece is one piece of fabric, and in the front it's there are some folds to give the whole thing some shape. And this high waistline is really special, and it's what makes this whole Regency era very special in history, because with the high waistline you don't really need corsets. So this was the only time in fashion history where women didn't have to wear corsets to be very fashionable. So they had, where is it? They had something quite similar. So this is a corset, but there's no real boning. There's just this piece of wood in the front so that you would sit straight up and stand correctly. But there's no real boning besides that, and it's more to lift the bust and give someone the right posture. And this here in the back looks much more like a modern sports bra, so it was very close to modern underwear that we have today. Of course the thing has a back piece. So here we have some, that's the part underneath the arm, and this here is still from the front piece, and then we have two back pieces, and here we have 5 buttons. So, and that's the whole idea of the pattern. And I made another drawing to illustrate this. So this is what it should ideally look like. We have the front piece here, and then the pieces for underneath the arms, and then the back piece. And that should be it. Of course, that didn't quite work out. Okay, now we're coming to the real pattern I made. First one was out of paper, and you would normally close it in the back, but because then you can't really try it on, I cut it open in the front, and I'm going to correct that when I'm making the real pattern. So I just tried this on and saw if it works on the body. You can see it's not quite perfect. It didn't really fit, so I thought I might try this with some leftover fabric, and I did the same thing. And I just pinned the paper pattern onto the fabric and then cut around it, and I think I'm going to do this the same way with the real fabric, that I'm just going to pin the pattern onto the fabric and then cut around it, because if I start drawing on that very delicate fabric with the chalk that I bought for the corset, this dark blue is just never going to get out again. So this is the first try in the same leftover fabric I used for the sample of my corset. As you might see, I made some minor mistakes. In general, it's the way it should look like, but the neckline is way too low. That's far beyond daring. And you can see it's too low cut here too, because when I add the puffed sleeves there and the hole for the arm is so big, then the sleeves are going to turn out really big. So I corrected that, and I just used more fabric in general, and this is the final one which I'm going to use, and it fits really good. So I had a really good feeling when I first tried that on, and it's a little longer in the front also, so that I can, that I have much space to try around with the folds. The holes for the arms are much, okay, you can't really see it here, but the holes for the arms are much smaller than in the last try, and the neckline is also higher and much more appropriate for the time. So, oops. And yeah, it looks very much like in regards to the neckline, it looks very much like the drawing I made, so I have a good feeling about this, and I'm going to tell you how that works out. Thanks for watching.